Right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Dan Watson. This is not Paul Sloggett. This is
Amon Shaw.
welcome.
Welcome to the dirt.
Yeah, there you go. I was hoping you
Got
was
it.
going to go in there.
I was ready to do it. You threw me off a little bit at the start because I wasn't ready for the second bit. Yeah.
As you can see, no Sloggett tonight. He's away keeping the wife happy, which we all have to do from time to time. But we've got a cracking episode for you tonight. And it's only made better by the fact that Amon's joining us. Officially our most featured guest on the dirt, I have to be said. And so yeah, why not bring him back again? It does all right at it. It does all right at it.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, as always.
Listen, let's get him straight in here. We can do all the
I'm excited for this.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show today's guest, and that is Devin Garland. Welcome to the dirt, brother. Can you hear us?
Hey.
Yeah, I can hear you well. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome.
But finally, it's had a few ups and downs to get you here, mostly on my account. It has to be said. I seem to have been not exactly on the boil, shall we say, with scheduling. But
it's all gravy.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you on. Very excited. Certainly not, in your own words, at one point, Mountainboarders' most forgotten man. I don't think that's quite true, but we'll roll with it, because I forgot to bloody do an episode recording last week because I double booked it. So we're not going to go down it. But I know that we've got some incredible stories to try and get out of you here tonight, if you'll grace us with a few of those.
Yeah, if I remember them, because all the head trauma.
It does see a bit of a path of the course with a few riders. The head trauma seems to and others just the alcohol and other substance consumption tends to play its part as well, should we say. So for the wider world who may not be familiar with you, Devin, you have fill in the blanks for us a little bit. You've been mountainboarding since
I was 16, so it's been about I'm 39 now. It's been about a good 22, 23 years. Probably got on a board first about like 1999, and didn't really start getting into it till I was about 17, 18, and jumped into competing, and it went from there. I met some riders. I got on like the old bulletin boards and stuff that they had, and we just planned sessions, went meeting, and tried to find spots and whatever, and it just went from there. And plus MBS.
Whereabouts in the world was this when
okay, so I'm in Denver, Colorado, and so MBS headquarters is down in Colorado Springs, so kind of have the connection because Jay Lee, Joel, PMC were all just down the way, and they did a lot of things in the surrounding area. And so went from competing to doing demos, and then demos and competing really easily, because it was easy to get down there, and I was readily available. So,
how did you first find out about it originally? Like, do you know that any of those guys already, or?
I mean,
no,
so demos and stuff, didn't they, back in those days, or trade shows would it have been, and things like that? How did you?
So my story is a little weird. I lived in Texas for a short period of time, and I was a skateboarder, and a kid across the street got an old frame board, and we were riding it up curbs and stuff, and I was like, I just said to myself, or maybe out loud, I don't remember, but I was like, one day I'm getting this board, you know. And I moved back to Colorado, and I was telling my buddies about it, and there's a local skate shop in Denver, and my buddy's like, dude, they have mountain boards. And I was like, what, are you serious? He's like, yeah. So I had some crappy dishwasher job I saved up for 4 months, and went out there and went to go get a board, and they had blades and razors, and I looked at it and I was like, what board should I get? And the guy didn't really know what kind of board I should get. Should have got a razor. I ended up getting an old blade, and yeah. So I just had this massive mountain board, and so I was a skateboarder, so I was skating around, and I'd skated to school, and my friends knew that I had a mountain board. And so one of my friends, she was like, oh, I know this BMX track, you should take your board out there. And I was like, okay. So I was trying it, and I wasn't doing too bad, but it was really difficult, especially with that big beast of a thing. those boards are heavy and huge. And
did you still have the big 9-inch tires on them as well?
Yeah, I had the big nines on there and everything. So I didn't realize smaller tires would be better, whatever. And Steve Ader was down at his local little spot just down the way, and he saw me, and he came over and like kind of introduced me. He was like, hey, there's a group online, there's we meet up, blah blah blah, if you want to come. And so I got involved that way, just kind of out of randomness. And yeah, it started a crazy chapter in my life, to say the least.
I bet. And so who was your local crew back then? You mentioned Dave Seifert and the Lees. I'm assuming they're not too far away from you.
Yeah, well, Joel's in Australia now, but he was here. And so yeah, it was the whole MBS squad, Pat McConnell, Joel Lee, Jason Lee, and then the local crew here was I don't know if you've heard of them, but there's Brackley, Dave Stefiter. There was a bunch of other kind of random people who faded off, but Mitchy Boy Stiegel, the one who was running the US Open, PT Thomas, so those were like the main core guys, that I was trying to get into. And then naturally the 1-5 crew, the original with Justin Dersham and Trevor, Brian Sincar. So that all those guys were, the guys we were riding with. But I ended up meeting up with Brian Bishop, the head of Orb magazine, Mountainboard magazine. And I ended up riding with him a lot, and he was taking me around, and he's like, you're gonna be great, I was
trying to bring you on.
Yeah, he gave me a lot of love and support. And I started doing weird things like getting into like the local newspaper, and they were also running the series, and he was like, oh, we'll come the series for the first nationals in Des Moines, Iowa at Sleepy Hollow. And so I did all the things leading up to that, which were competitions at like mountain resorts. And I was talking with Jay last night, and one of the funniest stories, we're at Copper Mountain, and it's just a downhill road. I'm going to backtrack after this, but it was just a downhill dirt road, and we had to have brakes. Like the mountain required brakes, and we don't ride with brakes out here, and you got ridiculed if you did. And Dave Sansoni kind of got tripped over his, and we get down to the bottom of the mountain, or finishing the race, and it was in front of like some higher ups of the Copper Mountain. Dave Sansoni takes his board, and he's like, brakes are for effing lawyers, just into it, feel like a freaking shot put. Like, it was hilarious. Like, just one of those moments where it's like that, the whole bomb squad type, like aggro.
Yeah.
But backtracking, like the first like actual competition. So I had my blade, and I had, I was meeting up with the crew. We were meeting up for sessions and stuff, and there was this place called High Drive, and it's pretty iconic. Jay and everyone rode out there, and it's out in the Springs, and so it was like a mile uphill, and then you drop down. So we'd run up, park at this one parking lot. We'd run up and then drop down. Well, at first I did have a break because I didn't know how to ride downhill. I'm like, oh yeah, I'd be fine. Well, I was maybe a quarter of the way into the run, and it's like maybe 2 to 3 miles downhill. The brake just snapped, like just popped open, and I was like, I don't know how to stop. And I just tumbled down that run. Like, I got to the bottom, dude. I was cut, bloodied, and bruised, and I was like, I love this. I don't know what's wrong with me, but but I learned how to power slide and stop at that point. And the funny part is that I came back next year and like did even better. And it wasn't until like later on I raced Cody, and I just saw him pointing it, and I was like, oh, you can just go. You don't have to stop. But yeah,
Just
so
follow that fall line. Just follow the
yeah,
fall
I
line.
mean, well, it was so rocky and sandy, so you could like use the sides to slow down, but like he's just in the middle, like beeline. And I remember seeing him down a switchback, and I was just looking, I was like, oh, well, I got to try to catch Cody, like, because like, I mean, obviously Cody Stewart's an insanely good all-around rider. Like, I don't know what his problem is, but he's
to be fair, our experience of the US crew that have visited in this to our side of the sea have all been really strong all-round riders.
no, like,
it don't matter who it was, whether it is Austin or Leon, Coney, Day, Jeremy, anyone that's come over has always been absolutely incredible, generally in all fields, but especially seems to be freestyle heavy from the US.
yeah, we didn't do a lot of free riding. It was always it was kind of a tough thing. There was always more freestyle aspects over here in the US, but I mean, I started off doing a lot of street riding and stuff, so I think I'm probably one of the few that can do, like, if you kind of go back in my videos, I even went out to like Portland, where I think more of the West Coast, like the Northwest Coast, those guys, like, they have this really heavy, like downhill, crazy, like slash style. And I was like, why are they riding like this? This is really weird. And then I like rode some of what they're like, yeah, this is a spot we used to ride. And it was just like steep downhill free ride. Like, yeah, we hit that jump. And then there's this like little roller here. And I was just like, how? And then my buddy just like rolls up and like jumps over this freaking log. Sean Anderson, he's probably like one of the least known guys. Like, he put his heart and soul into it, busted his arm like I don't know how many times, but I couldn't get him to wear pads. But crazy, just, yeah, that the Northwest riders, they had more of the free ride. Like, so like Leon was probably like one of the more well-balanced riders versus us, where we just kind of stick to the parks. And so it's like myself, I rode a lot of skate parks because I didn't have any dirt and there was really no jumps. And so I spent a ton of time in the skate parks, and like, yeah, it was that's where I spent a lot of my time on my mountain board, and caught so much flack from it, from the community, from skateboarders. Like,
well,
that was
I mean, is this potentially a good time to mention Thrasher Skateboard magazine, talking about skate parks and skateboarders and copping flack? Or is this too early on in the origin story?
Yeah, that it's a little early. We'll get through we'll get through how I even like got to that point, to like to doing the demos.
I'll
Because
shut this big old cake hole right up there.
Oh, you're all gravy. Like, so I would going back to I did the series, and it was like Brian Bishop had it set up where you had points, and you had this whole point system, and I had I did all the competitions that I could, like Copper Mountain. I forget where the other ones were in particular, but I did all that and I got all the points. And then go out to Des Moines, Iowa, where everybody was. And I'm pretty sure I went out with Brian. No, no, I didn't go out with him that time. It was a different trip. So I hopped on a bus. I took my blade and I had a green 16, green comp 16. I stuffed those in an army bag and I hopped on a Greyhound bus and got my butt out there. Didn't have a tent or anything. The first night, like, ended up raining. I ended up sleeping in some random dude's truck that was was out there type deal at like the campgrounds. And yeah, the next day I got to meet Diego, Zach Hiverly, and I was in racing with them. And so the story goes is I lost my first race, and I can't remember if it was double or triple limb, but I got stuck in the wild card spot, and so I ended up racing all day. And I was out there prior, so I kind of knew the course, but they had this crazy like straight to berm, and then it kind of came down, and then the course kind of snaked around a little more and finished out with a couple tables and whatnot. And I battled my way through the whole day, and as I came to the end, I'm in the gate with Diego and Zach Haverly. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna win, like I'm taking this one. It's like I fought all day. I was so tired. I like pull out of the gate. I can get the whole shot. I'm going through, and I come to that little turn like that comes just right straight off, and I just straight out. And like I tumbled down that hill because I was going so fast. I rolled, and I had a full face on at that time, but I just remember seeing like a rock come in my helmet, and like I was landing, and I was like face down, and I was like thinking, crap, I got to get up on my board and like win this race. My board just comes down and just right top my head KOs me. And I wait. So this is like the first part of like, because I'm been known for my crashes. This was like the first one, and everyone's like, we thought you were dead, we thought you were gone. And I was like, I kind of thought I was gone too. Like I missed stakes sticking out of the ground and all sorts of crap. Like I was damn lucky. And then the board takes me out, and I wake up to paramedics. They're like, what day is it? So, I didn't know that to begin with. Like, where are you at? And at Sleepy Hollow Mountainboard Park. Are you refusing medical attention? Yes, I am. I finished that day with a concussion. I still don't remember much of the big air that I got first place in later. So I ended up taking the series. I had the points. I was amateur national champion for that year. And yeah, so like everybody kind of was turning their head towards me, but like, I wasn't, a small fish in a pond at that point. It's standing on the podium with like, Leon and Pat McConnell and all the C-roll, all the people I ended up getting to really know a lot later. And yeah, that continued on to the next year to the US Open, where up in Snowmass, Colorado, Mitch started putting those on. And so the first course, I really don't like border cross for these reasons. I've always wanted to come out to England. I always see your guys' tracks, and I'm just like, why can't we have something like that? Like, just looks so amazing. But I can imagine you guys just get worked out there with all that.
Sometimes there are some altercations that might not be your fault, shall we say, or anybody's fault. It's not always like a blame game as such, but yeah, accidents happen when racing, don't they? At the end of it,
you're going for it. Yeah. So that first year, I could do this course. Like, it was a straight beeline again to what they call the waterfall, and then there was a tiny berm at the bottom, and you had to make that snake through the course, right? So the waterfall is the key thing here, and I was good enough to where I could make the course. There was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he was trying to keep up with me, and I was like, dude, like, just take it at your own pace. Like, don't try to keep up with me. Not trying to be mean, but like I saw his ability level, and so we eventually, it comes down to me and him because he's riding pretty good, and he's trying to keep up with me through the roller section, and like Austin, Leon, Sayer, all those guys were just pumping through that thing in that tiny little berm at the bottom. They were hauling. So I was like, okay, I was watching them and I was like, I can go a little faster. So I was pumping through and I was trying to get away from him. Well, he comes to the waterfall and he goes to power slide, and it's about a 12-foot drop, you know. He locked into my wheels and I just backwards just sent me. And I remember bouncing and like I was so pissed. I'm like, he's not winning this race because he took me out. I mean, it was completely accidental, but he got to the end and got scared and then just put his wheels into my wheels, like slid. And so just, yeah, I don't know. So many crazy crashes throughout my years, but those were some of my favorites, because the first one, Justin Dersham was doing the emceeing out there in Sleepy Hollow, and they called that berm the Devastator because they all thought I died out of it.
Is that I remember him, I'm pretty sure it was him doing coverage of might have been that year of that comp, when he was changing names every time he come onto camera. He'd have you know, the Floaty McFloaterson on the microphone, and then the next time it'd come up and it'd have a different name, Dwayne Dwaney or something like that, you know. And I don't know why I'm remembering that now, but I'm sure that was that year. If you go back through, if you're geeky enough to go back through the videos and watch it, you'll see what I mean.
Well, and there was a DVD released for that year called The Purple Toy, and I have it. I think the DVD is broken, but I wish there was something like that online, because it just showed how gnarly that thing was. And you know, we were always subjugated to ride whatever we were, like, you know, or ride whatever was there. And you know, even if you didn't have the skill and ability, and Snowmass really started to become that, because it wasn't really designed for us. It was gnarly and fast. And so yeah, I ended up winning that series, getting first in border cross, and then getting first in big air. And we finished out that year, and Mitch turns to me and like, I ended up getting 2 boards. I ended up winning a Core 16 and I think a new green. I can't remember the other board that I won, but I won 2 mountain boards. They were like, him and PT were like, we didn't think somebody would take both categories. They're like, next year you got to compete pro. So I went 2 years amateur, and they literally were like, I was like, but I don't even have any sponsors. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, talk to Jay or something. And that, like 2 years in, they were like, you're too good. And then, you know, they're like, you're competing pro next year in all events, and you're not allowed to compete amateur anymore.
Was that the kind of the entry requirements for the pro category in the US meant that you had to have sponsors to be able to compete as a professional class?
That's what I thought, but it was more based off of skill level. Like, I don't know if the guys really had any sponsors other than MBS, you know, like it was far and in between. And I tried to pull sponsors later, and you know, it was like pulling teeth. You know, they'd give you like a little bit, like they'd give you this little what is it, like a B-lister kind of pro form where you could get things for cheaper. I was like, I don't want cheap, like I want you to give me stuff. So it was, you know, you didn't really have sponsors other than a board company out here. And yeah, I don't know, like in the beginning, but I'm pretty sure all those guys, you know, back the days at Cracker Ridge and stuff, where they really kind of, I think, started going insane. I think they just kind of, you know, were inducted into it. And I think that was kind of you were like, you're pro now. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And
and so how did you fare the following year in the pro category?
So it was like, out of how many were, it was around 12 to 17 riders. I did about 6. You know, I was under the obvious, like Leon, Leaf. Can't remember if Cody was out there that year. He usually was, but yeah, I did pretty well, considering, because prior to that, you know, like I still had my blade, and they did these demos out at back in the blade days. They were doing these demos out for what is it called? The Boulder, and it was like a yearly thing that they'd bring the demo ramps. They'd have a demo, and whether it be Dave or Jay, I can't remember. It's been so long, but they were like, "Come out, try the demo setup." And so I kind of like waited, and it was the first like 24-foot roll-in. And I just remember, like I was standing at the top, and I come up, and Jay kind of looks at me. He's like, "You gonna do this thing on that?" I was like, I don't know, didn't you make it? Like, shouldn't it be able to handle this? I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm gonna do it." And I stood at the top of the roll, and you get that intimidation, and eventually pulled in, and was like, was able to do something. And so like Jay started taking note of me at that point, and I used to come out for the Boulder to do the demos and shows that they did. And man, we tried doing a high jump one year, and that was brutal. I think we got up to like 14.5, and I ended up stacking off of that. And then Josh Nepper had set the record, and then he tried to beat his record, and then just like broke the shit out of his rib. And he was down. We were like, "Oh my god, dude, that guy." If you guys familiar with Josh Nepper? I mean, I don't know if he came out to England or whatever.
I have memories of him eating scabs and stuff. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, because he was in the, was it Down and Dirty?
Yeah.
With
might be that.
Yeah.
Down Dirty to the Rough Riders.
Rough Riders, yeah. And one of my favorite clips in that is he's got the shotgun, he's got "Road Gap my dog." Sayer just like turns like, what? John, you're talking to Josh, he's like, "It wasn't loaded, but Sayer heard that gun cock." He was so I'm in the background through all this stuff that's kind of going on, because those guys are coming up and more, and like I'm battling my way out. And there was a little bit of bad blood. They did not like me. Like everybody just kind of had this notion that F this guy, like and it's pretty funny to see the comparison from then to now. But there's bad blood, and so like there's a lot of crap talking, and it's like, it was funny because like they couldn't get rid of me. I was there. It's like, hey, I started this. I kind of plan to finish it, however that it's gonna look. And it's that's a crazy story in all itself, but we won't get into too much of all.
Okay,
all of that.
Save that for another time. That one maybe.
Right.
So you eventually got your sponsorship with MBS, and you didn't. Did you? At what point did they say to you, "Come ride for MBS"? Because you were doing, as you said, doing demos with them and stuff like that at some point or another.
It's so weird, because it's like one day, it's like talking to Jay, and then the next time, like not too long afterwards, like I'm on the website, and it's like, well, I guess I'm sponsored. Like nobody really kind of cued me in. And then it was like the first year before like the new owner kind of came in, like they were giving out a lot of stuff. I got like a board and everything, and they're like, okay, so I had enough parts and everything in case anything happened while I was out riding and competing. And it was just kind of weird. It was just like, "You're pro, all right, you're on the team." Like, what? And I just went from there, and then eventually got more and more with MBS, and Jay would call me up and be like, "Hey, we're going to do a demo out here. You ready?" "Yep, let's go." Like, "Hey, we got a demo out here. All right, let's go." And I fared pretty well. I just worked a crappy little pizza flipping job, and the rest was all mountain boarding, you know, I think aside from a few people, I've probably actually made more money off of the sport, you know, as much as you possibly could, because it was, you know, it wasn't enough to like, you know, afford a steady lifestyle. I call myself a mountain board bum because I just worked a crappy job that I could be like, hey, I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks. They're sending me to California, and you know, and it provided with great stories and opportunities. So the demo sagas, yeah, there's there's a there's a lot that I've forgotten, and then a lot that, you know.
Have you got any good stories? That's actually one of my questions I'd written down was like, have you got any good stories from doing demos? Because I know from UK demos we had some good stories, so I wanted to see if you had anything.
So
what you've done.
the greatest one of all was I got to ride demos for 80 days, and the whole thing was 87 days throughout the summer. We were in Branson, Missouri, which not the greatest place. It was it wasn't super cool, but you know, I was riding with Leon. Josh Nepper was the MC. It was the great John Durba was out there for a little bit. Couple of older guys that, you know, that were riding back in the day, but Leaf was out there. And the story goes is like Jay was going to send me out there. We had a condo, and I had so many days. I'm like, dude, there's not enough days that like I'm gonna be riding that it's going to make enough money to be out here. He's like, well, you better find a second job. I was like, dude, I'm in Branson, Missouri. Like, I'm gonna work a second job being a mountain boarder. And so Leaf went out for like his first few rounds, and they were jumping over somebody. He ended up breaking his arm. We were just like, oh crap, you know, like, yeah, you know, it was a big deal. He ended up really hurting himself bad, and we were all pretty concerned. And then I ended up getting thrown in, and so I basically had a week off the whole time. But I mean, it's like, you know, you're riding for an hour and a half a day, and it's like you're mountain boarding. Like,
Are they all in the same, was it like a tour or in the same spot?
It was in the same spots. Yeah, they had it at like an amusement park,
Okay.
and so we just had the demo ramp set up, and I got to hit it every day. And I got to the point, because it's the 25-foot rolling, I got to the point where I would pull off, I'd jump into that thing, do a melon grab. I have an old video on my YouTube, but you can't tell that I'm doing the melon grab into it, and then I just do like these huge laid out backflips. And like actually Durba's got an old video, you hunt it down, of us riding that thing. And yeah, it was that was one of the craziest things, because like we were just out there drinking and mountain boarding. And yeah, lots of fun stories from that one, just being in the middle of the South in the hot and humid. But the greatest one is I brought my full face, which I'd ride it. I was known for wearing a lot of pads, and they were like, oh, you're making mountain board look too gnarly. I'm like, I'm gonna wear pads, I'm sorry. But this one was kind of a dumb, I put my full face on, and it's really hot and humid out there, like, and you know, doesn't cool down. And I was going through the shows, and I remember like I was dropping in, and as I was coming in, I completely blacked out like while I was rolling. And before I G'd out, like I came to and like, you know, stabilized myself instead of just like sack of potatoes. But it was like the crazy experience. Like I just completely blacked out before I, you know, came into the pocket and
That's
somehow
crazy.
like survived. It's like, yeah, I'm not wearing that full face anymore. I kind of started steering away from it. It's like, I don't need to like pass out while I'm doing
Not ideal.
this just crazy moments, you know. And it's like, yeah, it's, you know, that was like drawn out versus like I wanted to start a thing called the Mountainboarding Mercenary Crew, the MMK, because, you know, Jay would call us up and, hey, we're doing demos out BFE, you know, like, all right, let's go. We're gonna pack our crap up and, you know, get on the road.
Yeah, the last minute man. There's such, call them in.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you wouldn't have much notice. And but I mean, like it really at least became part of my identity. They're the old ramp was, they're tearing it down, and one of the guys that we ride with currently was taking pictures of the new setup, the new old setup of the door, and he's like showing all the signatures, and I kind of posted on there. I was like, how many times is my name on there? He just posted a lot.
I think I see the door there. Those little history. Oh, I hope the door stays.
Well, I hope.
It.
I should talk to him and see if I can't just get it, because the original one, with like all the OGs, AK, Leon, Josh, they were doing the core tour back then. That or not. Well, there was a core tour, but I'm thinking of the Area 2 tour where they were like actual rock stars. Like they're at like a, I forget the performers, like I know Moby was one of them. But regardless, like they were actually have like rock star status, where they were, a bunch of crazy drunk people were like, yeah, this is fucking cool.
So when you was doing the bit in Missouri then at the park, is that, did you have masses of crowd, or is that like a passing crowd, or you'd have a time slot, this is happening in whatever square in the park at this time of day, and then you'd have a crowd would gather for that, as opposed to being like a full-on festival where loads of, like you say, loads of revelers are around drinking and
so it was Branson, Missouri. There's no bars or anything. It's like really prim and proper, like
right.
They had putt and go-karts. There was no like pub or festivities or anything. It was.
Christ, you must have looked, you might not have had the crowds, but you must have looked like rock stars compared to putt golf and
well, and that's the whole thing. Like we were kind of tucked away in the corner, and we had like time slots, like you were saying, and so people will be walking around and they'd be asking people like, hey, where's this mountain board show? Because we were kind of tucked away. There's like a roller coaster on the other side of us, and on the other side, and then they had bleachers, and like, first off, like, there was not too many people, but like towards the end, like we had it jam packed, and like by the end of the day, like people were like, trying to like pack in that little area they had set up. Like they hadn't even planned it out. I didn't think they'd think that we'd be that popular, but like, we were pretty much like the rock stars of Branson, Missouri.
It still baffles me, like with all the, I mean, I don't know how big it was in the US because I wasn't there, but in the UK, it certainly felt like the scene was just so achingly close to exploding in such a mainstream manner, and it just never quite got there. Anytime the Mountainboarders would show up to any event that we've ever done, and I mean, Amon, you did a little demo the other week, did you not, at a village show?
Yeah.
Did you get a good reception even now?
People loved it when it, definitely.
So like,
it's like
even now,
it's just people doing backflips. People love people doing backflips. Do
a backflip. Do a backflip.
Do a backflip.
Oh Lord! I was like, they better giving you props, Amon. You freaking kill it out there. I watch all the English riders, and I've wanted to go so bad, but I've been so poor, and probably a little bit of anxiety of flying over the pond. But I wanted to meet, and so back in the day, what I didn't like really look to push myself to the riders here, because obviously Leon, but Kirkman was the one to beat. Like if I was going to beat anybody, I was going to beat Tom Kirkman. And so it became a running joke later on in the saga where I was doing a lot of riding with Shanzo, that he would like, Kirkman would do it. And I'd be like, I got to do it now. He's like, dude, Tom Kirkman would do it. So we had like we had these running jokes, but it's like I watched you guys and I watched all the centers and like, you know, everyone going over there, and I was always so jealous. And I always, you know, I always thought like I was like they got it going on over there, but I'm pretty sure, you know, you guys maybe had a, you know, you're actually seeing it, because to me it always looked like it was massive, you know. Was it is it Bugs that they had the night ride competition where
In the
Yeah.
background of Amon's picture at the moment.
Yeah, here. This is Bugs.
okay. Oh no, but what is it? Hail?
No, but-
I can't think of the
But yeah,
centers,
like
but
fat face night air was at Bugs. And you are right. It does look massive. But to be fair, like me and everyone else, I'm sure agrees that we look you guys American stuff, and it's like on another scale. But,
Yeah.
well, I mean, just
we're probably
scene-wise, you guys.
Sorry,
say that again.
I was going to say, in the UK, it seems a little bit more concentrated. I think geographically we're a lot smaller, aren't we? And everything's a lot closer to each other. Where you guys seem to have more media coverage.
are you talking about jumps and tracks, or like the size of?
Just the size of the popularity of it, you know.
Yeah, the crowds and stuff. So like you guys always look like you have a lot of spectators, a lot of riders, and yeah, I mean, like I don't know. I've wanted to meet everybody for such a long time, but you know, it's getting off my butt.
Have you got any plans to come over?
Well, I finally got to a point where I think that I can. So, you know, COVID kind of put a stop to me trying to get over there. But like the idea is to get over to England and then try to get over to France. Because I missed out on all those centers, and like I've always drooled over, you know, seeing like the things I could do over that jump. Now I'm all old and decrepit. Like it's like, you know, I just want to ride it at this point because they're like disappearing, and they're like, man, I can't, you know, imagine how you guys feel, because I'm like, you know, I'm like, I didn't get a chance. Like, it's crazy, you know. See,
the world champs is in France next year, so maybe that's but the French guys are killing it. They've got their parks over there are insane over in France at the moment. It's crazy.
I'm old. I'll just be happy to meet everybody and, you know, fly out of the country, because, you know, my whole story just really revolves around the US, and it's taken me lots of places, but, you know, there one opportunity there was to actually go out and do something. And I told Jay, I was like, I have my passport, anything, you know, across the world, you know, you want to send me out somewhere, like send me out there. And they had this demo they did in Russia, and it was Dave and Halston Rhodes, and they sent them out to Russia to do like Russian MTV and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, I did some of like the seediest demos of in like some backwater places, and I'm like, Jay, like, come on, man. But Halston Rhodes really didn't get much of an opportunity. So, and he's, you know, just all around good dude, great rider, you know, innovative. Yeah, so I was glad to see him get an opportunity over some of the other guys that, you know, that are out here. But yeah, and yeah, competing and everything, it's been like competitions, like they don't get like the viewership like say you guys do. Like you guys at least get people out there. Like a lot of the times out here, you know, like the US Opens, it was just people kind of walking by, families. Like it was kind of bigger at first. And one of my moms
sort of story here, though, the same. Like it used to be bigger crowds than it is now. But
I mean, it still seems like you do fairly well. Like our last competition, you know, is just kind of a get together. You know, me and Jenna have been working on doing the Colorado series, and she's put so much work and time and effort into that, you know, to like just kind of get all the scattered, you know, people that are out here anymore together. And
Yeah, it's got to
but,
be
like,
said.
yeah.
Well done, Jenna, on those. And you know, spoiler alert, I'm hoping that at some point in the near future we'll be having her on to chat a bit about the Colorado Call.
Yeah, that
and about
Northwest.
her story in general, her mountainboarding history as well. But yeah, they look a lot of fun. They look a lot of fun. And it is nice to see, whether it's marketed as a competition, a gathering, or whatever. It's nice to see, you know, faces from the US all meeting up again and having those rides.
It's crazy how it went from, like, you know, the bomb squad days, and like kind of how it just fell off, you know, where it is now. And yeah, because we did the core tour series, and I went out with the setup to like Venice Beach, California. We did shows there, you know, and you know, it was obviously all the, you know, the bomb squad, AK, Dave Sansoni, great stories and times with those. Then we went out to New York and then back to California. So we're going coast to coast, and you know, getting, you know, a lot of people seeing it. I do have a great story from one of the core tours. So I can't remember if it was the Huntington Beach or the Venice Beach one in particular, but we went out there, and Leaf was talking to some girls, and he's like, dude, you want to go to this party? You know, we're just all crammed into this hotel room. And I'm like, yeah, all right, you know, go out. And it happened to be my birthday. It's like, you know, like, oh, I'll go to a party on my birthday or whatever. And to go out there, and like, he kind of wingman me, like, you know, I'm usually, if I know what I'm getting into, I'm usually a little bit better. But you know, I was talking to this other girl, and he's like, okay, well, we're gonna leave. And he left with that girl, and that other girl was like not having it. She just like looked and just kind of like walked off. And I was just at this party where I didn't know anybody. I'm in California. I'm like, my birthday, and I'm like, kind of like, damn, this, you know, like, this kind of sucks, actually. You know, smoked some weed, chatted with some people, and you know, eventually, you know, went on my way back to the hotel. And you know, I'm walking through this alley, and I'm kind of like, you know, you know, it is what it is. And I'm walking through, and I just hear, hey, like, oh man, now I'm gonna get into a fight. Like, are you serious? Like, you know, it was that, like, hey, get over here. And it's just, you know, I'm like, what's going on, man? You know, like, how you doing? You're like, oh, hey, we're having a barbecue, blah blah blah. Like, you want to come? I'm like, all right. Well, turns out they were a bunch of freaking Mountainboarders. They were watching Mountainboarders. They had like they had MBM on in the room, and they were like, I'm like, dude, I'm out here for Mountainboard shows. And they're like, dude, that's awesome. And I'm like, it's my birthday. Hey, it's your birthday. just like a random like pod of Mountainboarders that were drinking barbecue, and they like ended up just calling me over. And yeah, that was a crazy experience. Just like things like that would happen, like versus nowadays, you know, it's kind of fringe. Like,
were you on any of the MVMs that they were watching at the time? Did you say, there's me, see? Pause
so
it.
yeah, that bad blood, I was at a lot of events that they're in. They cut me out of a lot of things. So that's kind of the joke. I'm the most forgotten Mountainboarder, because they were literally trying to cut me out. And even was it Shrout Down, JD, like, he wouldn't call me up to go ride. He was not too far from me. Like, they had all these reasons why they didn't want to be part of me. And so my part in that video, where I do the foot plant on the dirt wall, I was like, I have to do something that he has to use. And like, I was just like, I'm gonna do something stupid. And I pulled that out. And he had mentioned that when he went over to England, like, he was like, people are like, you know, like, what? Because I mean, it wasn't an easy setup to get into. First of all, like, you had to like come around and drop into this crazy thing, and then you had to, you know, you just see like the end part. But to get all into that all together and then get a foot plant off a dirt wall was, you know, absolutely insane. I was just doing everything I could. Like, it was pretty much like the parts you see me where they're either poking fun at me, or or I was doing something that was like, all right, we'll give you this because that was pretty cool. But yeah, no, one of the like the first MVMs, like Dave was, a good friend and mentor. We had a falling out, but he's in it. And he when I had my blade, and we were riding at that spot, I thought rolling down the windows was a trick. I didn't know any better. So, I'm like I'm like seeing how many times I could do it, I probably looked absolutely ridiculous. And then at one point, he's like, dude, it's not a trick. Like you're flailing. You're like, it's not a good thing. Because, they were just calling it out. Oh, you're rolling down the windows on that one. I was like, yeah, all right, let's see how many times I can roll down the windows.
And pom-poms.
They're at PTs, and I was riding with them that day, and they kicked me out of the party because they're like, oh, no underage drinking. They just didn't want me there. And then Dave in the MVM is like, yeah, I had to tell him, like, they don't like go on to say it's me, but like, and it was just like when I saw it and I like realized, I was just like, there was a so yeah, I'm in him, and like, I'm spattered through the magazines and stuff because Brian was good about it. Like, we were close. Like, I never really had anything with him, but he was always trying to cover the things. But eventually, the color one, he gave me the style and profile, and that was like, kind of a big thing because it was like the first colored edition, and it ended up being the last, unfortunately. But
as I said to you before, I, for the first time ever this summer, held a copy of Orbit in my hands, and I think it's Steve Birkbeck brought it along, I think, to the champs for the museum. But they didn't exist over here. I don't know where he got it from. But yeah,
which is funny because they were, you're given out constantly over here, and I don't think I have the full collection, but I need to talk to Brian, see if he's got episode the stack, because like I'm peppered throughout them, but obviously focusing on like Leon and Leaf, those points were yeah, all the big names, Josh Nepper, all the stuff they were doing, feeding off of that was a little more important, to kind of keep, people interested. And it's so weird to see me like peppered in there, but I was literally like riding at the skate park, 3-4 hours. Like, there are, obviously lots of sand paintings tricks that I've done, and it comes through in the first Branson video, my first YouTube video. I just out of nowhere, I was like, I'm gonna try a back truck stall, and this is, like, I think it had to have been like 2003. No, that's way too early. Like, I can't remember. I have to look at the video. 2007, 8 maybe, or 10. I can't. It all blurs together. But I've been riding skate park so much that I'm just trying a back truck stall, and I don't think anyone had done it at that point. And like, I just stalled it, and everybody's just kind of like looking at me like, what? And it's just, bred from my style of like, I didn't really have jumps in anything. And and I see the Japanese guys doing it now and stuff, and it's just, oh, they kill it out there. It's crazy.
Yeah, Yoshi, as we said, is pretty good from what I see in the skate parks there. He seems to like it. Are you familiar with Adam Conacher as well?
Names versus like seeing, because I watch everybody.
He's Irish lad who lives in Scotland at the moment, and he absolutely shreds the skate parks.
Yeah, if he mountain boards, I watch him. Like, I watch everybody's stuff, and like, there are things that like people are like, have you seen this? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen it, and like I hadn't like caught up on it. And like,
Is the guy who's always got his camera on a tripod, and he's riding by himself in skate parks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
Seen those
just
videos?
slaying it. And
Yeah,
who's the one out in England? It's not. Is it Emlyn? Or there's another skate park
As
rider
well.
out there.
Yeah, he likes it.
Um,
He'll ride anything really, does Emlyn, but he lives in a Bristol, so has, you know, the urban environment as his immediate surroundings, and he just seems very motivated to ride all the time. I think that's fairly safe to say.
Just amazing tricks. And Amon, I know I've seen you in the skate park a few times.
yeah, definitely. We have like in the winter when it's all the centers are closed and it's like raining, skate parks are often the only places you can ride, and they are good. Like it really does. It's like develops your skill riding, I think, massively riding in skate parks.
You guys got some pretty sick indoor ones out there that I've really just drooled
Yeah.
over, and like, you know, see you guys and Brend and everybody like hitting them, and it's like, I want to show them a few things if I could. Maybe I'm too old, I don't know. But I see you guys just throwing down all the steezy little tricks, and it's
do you ride the skate park much these days? Because I see a lot of clips of you riding, like, is it Belmont Bike Park and like dirt jump kind of things? Is that kind of what you mostly ride at the moment?
So yeah, it's the thing is like the skate parks were the precursor. Like people hated on me, but the whole point is that when I have my dirt parks, I'm going to be able to like shred them. I'm going to be able to link tricks. So I live like 10 minutes from Ruby Hill. Belmont's like 30 minutes away. Erie's a little further out with like that downhill track. Like Johnny Snipes got some epic follows. Me and AJ out there. And yeah, it's like I go to the skate parks and I'll pump around and people are just, you know, they'll look at me cross-eyed. My buddies that I ride with out here, that, you know, they're like, you know, how do you do that? And it's like, well, that's all I had for, you know, I don't know how many years. So yeah, there's a real, but like up at Frisco, like there's gnarly dirt jumps and they just have this flowy skate park, and like, you know, you drop in, it's just rollers. And so yeah, I still ride skate parks here and there, but like, man, I'm old and it just tires you out so much. Like it's like how I used to have energy for days, and I spent a lot of time at the Denver skate park years and years just battling it out with skaters and bikers, and you know, but we got dirt now, so it's like, you know, that's more mountain boarding's home. And you know, still, yeah, there's still levels to be pushed kind of out there, where Dylan was out here recently in Belmont and I wanted to front flip that step up so bad, and he just just kicks it.
Actually, I am going to cut in there because we have got a question related to that. And that one comes in from Mr. Matthew Brind, and he has asked here, let me just double check here, as someone who has flips dialed anywhere and everywhere, when are we going to see you joining and enjoying the Nozza game? And just in case there was a look of confusion there, this part is for info, not read out unless needed. Translation: Nozza is a nollie front flip.
So yeah, popping off the nose. And yeah, there is one clip of me doing well, I guess it's just kind of a flat flip, but it's like such a mellow, that's at Valmont off they call it the dolphin tail, because the whale tail is the big one, and then there's smaller pop in. There's a clip of me doing a front flip off of that, and I did land it, but you can't you know, any of my tricks in my videos, like I always land them even if, you know, you can't see it. But so I was doing front flips for the last set of demos in Boise, Idaho, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. and I was stomping them. Like I was stomping them in Boise, and I was like, yeah, all right. Because I can't seem to figure out the fast plant little nollie flip for whatever reason. So, you know, throw them like kind of really lazy. And so I was trying them in Albuquerque, and I wasn't rotating them, and like I fell like crunched in on my side, and I felt something move, and I was like, that's not good, don't do that again, you know, like no front flips on the demo setup. And I was like, I'll try it again, you know, I want to land this. Well, I did it again, and for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure I popped a rib out of socket, because like it was instant pain. I was down, and like you know, I kind of went off on the side of the ramp, and I laid, and they were like, you okay? And I'm like, no. And they're like, you want to go to the hospital? It's like, there's nothing they can do. It's your ribs. Like, unless I like, punctured a lung or something, you know, like something was really wrong with me. Like, there's nothing they can do. And I was just absolute pain. So front flips scare the living bejesus out of me. Like, excuse me. And I had actually at Frisco, I was trying to do the big line, and there's a 40-foot gap that I want to claim so bad, because a lot of dirt parks out here, I'm the first one to really ride. Like Valmont, I was the first one to ride XL and kind of coach the other guys through it. And I wanted to hit this 40-footer so bad, and I like went off, and there's like rock fields, and I hit a rock, and then I front flipped into a rock, and like my rib is still like my floating rib, I dinged rock right on it, and now it's been hurting again. So yeah, probably a little too old for the front flip nollies, but you know, I'll leave it to Dylan and Brendan.
Hey man, Amon here's got a mean front flip, it has to be said.
Yeah, I was gonna say Amon
them
too.
on
Like,
lot.
it's just
Maybe
Yeah.
you can give, I even in snow, I've never been comfortable with nollie front flips. I just can't. I just
I
seem to
prefer
go.
nollie front flips to other front flips. I've been a bit put off normal ollie front flips recently. Nollies seem to be way more, I don't know, you kind of a bit more in control of it, and the timing's not so much.
You're planting into it though too, right? Is that like the
Yeah,
like,
you kind of got
makes it
something to
more
sort
of
of push off and make you go round, whereas the normal front flip on like a big jump, like it's quite,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Oh,
it was easier to get it wrong and end up in the air like with no rotation, which you don't obviously don't want.
and Tom Reed was the one for those ollie front flips.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
So
incredible. It just
and
would go
Tom
vertical,
Reed,
and then
Tom Reed
like
was the front flip king.
little bit late flip.
Mm.
Nikki out here, Nikki Gearsay, we were at Valmont, and we were riding that. I don't know what that guy's on, but geez, like it's there. I can't, it couldn't have been more than, it's a little gap, you know, maybe spun off of it, you know, do calves or what off of it, but it's got to be like 2 feet high, and he just plants and front flipped off of it, and like he's a tall dude. It was one of those things where, like, you know, I tell people, like, you know, there's a guy front flipped off that, and they're like, wait, what? Like,
It's kind of like
I
a
wish.
gymnastics tumble, isn't it? In a way,
Yeah.
when you see like a free runner might do those where they turn side on, and it's that same motion for them doing that as a nollie front flip. So
Right, and using that spring of the board, you know, maybe like that, it's a lot like the floor. There is a spot that I had, it's in one of my old videos. It's kind of like a street spot, and you like could drop down as a curb to like grass. I've always wanted to just like skate into it as hard as I could and just let my front trucks hit it, and then
just tuck it and hope.
Yeah, and then just go for the front flip. Like that's probably as closest you'd see me get to it.
We're looking at the time here. We're just around about the hour mark here, and like I say, I snuck that question in from Brindy because it seemed appropriate. But now I've got the other questions here in front of us. It seems a reasonable time to sort of take a break from the timeline. Do you fancy doing the rest of the readers' wives, the viewers' questions?
Yeah, I'm interested in what people in my mind, I don't think people think of me. So you were like, yeah, I got questions, like, all right, well, yeah, no, I'm
okay. So the next one then comes in from James Wanklin, and he asks, if you could only do grabs with either your left or your right hand for the rest of your life, which hand would you choose? And also a follow-up question he's put in there, which grab would you be most upset to not be able to do with the lost hand?
Yeah, that's
Good question.
I'd have to say left, because a lot of my tricks kind of come from more of the tail. I've gotten more like the tuck knees and my what I call the super tail, where I grab the tail and I'll pull it behind me. So I'd say I wouldn't want to lose the left hand grabs. The right hand grabs, it would have been my I think it's a roast beef or taipan. And you grab behind the legs, front of the board, and then I'd pull back method. I'm trying to get them back. I lost them some time ago, but that would be the saddest grab to lose if I could only do that, because when you're spinning and you grab and then halfway through you just wrench it back, like it's just, that feeling is incredible. But I don't think it translates how complicated that gets at that point. But
Mail from
yeah.
LA Mountain Board Association started a little thing earlier on in the summer about bringing back like retro grabs that people just don't seem to do anymore. And I there's so much style to be had in different things, like you say, like the roast beefs and like they don't, everybody seems to grab like melon or mute or tail and nose, but never really, you don't see much of the through the legs stuff. I haven't seen anybody do a sweet case for years. That's for sure. But yeah,
it's one of those things, I think, they throw you off balance. And so, you want to stick to the tried and true, because, we have people like AJ, obviously, who, kind of push through that and kind of even go for that yoga, because I know that I'm getting stiffer as I go along. So a lot of the other, other grabs are hard. It's like, also, I don't want to fall.
So next question in is from Pierce Sutton, and his question is, you're going to like this one. This could spark a debate or two. Have you ever tried riding with heel straps, and what benefits would you say riding without them are?
So I tell people to ride with heel straps personally, because I've seen so many people just I'm like, don't jump out of the board, and then they start going fast, and then they try to jump out and they mess up their ankles. So the benefit of riding with heel straps is that it teaches you to slide, it teaches you to stay in, spinning. Sometimes I come out of my bindings, my grip isn't good, my shoes start losing their grip. Like recently, I can't remember where I was at, but I'm doing spins and my back foot's sliding out.
Yeah.
So I'm actually a big proponent of using heel straps, but will I ever put heel straps on? Probably not. I do not like the way it feels, the way my foot holds in the board and everything. I'm weirdly probably be one of the last few guys that will never ride with heel straps, maybe aside from Cody.
I mean, I can almost get it nowadays, since the ratchets sort of came along. I can understand but post bindings, you had to try and lock up against those posts to keep your feet in.
Well, that's
the
funny part.
But then it doesn't make it as comfortable. Do you know what I mean? You're almost can sometimes, unless you took real care with your setup. And I know that's why MBS had those post bindings on plates, so you could move them on the snowboard stance to be able to lock in the position that you prefer.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think there's it makes, like you say, being a beginner a lot more difficult, but you had the ability to be able to push without heel straps, don't you? And I think someone
See, and I
be...
used to, I didn't have a car, so I used to skate and mountain board everywhere. And I'd go to the skate park late at night, and sometimes the bus wouldn't, well, it would only give me like 2 miles away from my house. And so I'd still have to like walk or skate that last little bit. You know, it's like after riding like 3-4 hours. And then I'd skate everywhere. Like, you know, my buddy used to go out, he used to call me up in the middle of the night. We used to go out, you know, dropping hills, and, you know, I'd bring my mountain board. It's like, you know, I've skated that thing, you know, everywhere you can possibly imagine. And if you actually look at my calves, like one of them is abnormally large because of how much like actual mountain board skateboarding I've done. And yeah, you know, it's funny to see people try to like, you know, push in nowadays, because I still have a little trouble with it sometimes, because I don't, you know, don't have to really anymore, aside from maybe a couple kicks into Valmont. But yeah, you know, heel straps just night and day versus, you know, you're dropping and hitting jumps, doing tricks, like, but you know, I'm not going to be pushed that level, and I still like my 1-footers, which you know, that's been a whole saga of, you know, keeping that tradition alive. Pull your foot out and see how well you can do it.
Well, we're glad that you still keep that tradition alive, Devin. Really do.
Yeah, thanks.
And I know Brindy does, that's for sure. He's a man on a mission to keep 1-footers relevant, isn't he?
That I've tried the double back 1-footer, and I do not know how he, like, you know, as I had an airbag. I had my front flip double front styled like way before, you know, it was a thing, because I wanted a world first, but I don't think I'm gonna get it at this point. But I had those double front flips dialed, and then after he'd done that, I was like, well, you know, let's see if I could do that double back 1-footer. You know, that was pretty sick. At least take a second on that one. I couldn't get that. I don't do back foot 1-footers either, but I don't know how in the rotation he pulled it out and stayed like that. Maybe it's because he grabbed the binding. Like, I've tried everything, and just with the force of that trick. Anyway, that side note, it's like, how Brand?
Do you ever free your feet, Amon?
Sorry, say that again.
I said, do you ever free your feet?
No.
No.
I honestly never tried. I don't know why. It's just never really. I don't know. It's just not really something I've wanted to try. Probably should.
Not even for a no comply.
No, not really. I couldn't do it. I'd probably take me a few goes to get a no comply. Honestly. And I was gonna, yeah, I've always had heel straps on firmly on. I was gonna say, when you're talking before as well, I'm not really good at like skating along with my foot in the binding if I didn't have heel straps. Like, I'd struggle like twisting my foot to get along,
Yeah.
like skate along.
If you got to go faster than a tic tac, you're buggered.
Okay.
If you got to go faster than you can tic tac.
Yeah, I can probably tic tac faster for sure.
Was it?
So next question comes in from Brian Hoffman, and he has asked, what is your favorite board you've ever ridden, old or new? And is there any particular boards, MBS or whatever, that you would bring back? Now this intrigues me because I love a retro board. I don't know, I've got a couple of frames over there, and I've got a few gems from the old school underneath. What board would you bring back as a retro board, or a modern retro as such?
Retro, I've actually debated it. It's the Green 16. And they were actually originally started being pressed by Never Summer. Those boards, you know, kind of evolved into the kind of later like Leaf, and then like Retaliation. It's like I love those boards. Like just something about them always, you know, maybe it's nostalgic, but I was gonna have mine drilled out for the Matrix, and I was thinking about actually setting it back up because I love that board so much. But you know, if you even go like more recent, like they need to bring back the Retaliation like somehow. Or I got one of the last decks from Jay, and he's like, this is probably one of the last few decks, and it's in like saran wrap still. And it's like, I don't usually let boards sit, like I ride them, but I'm like really reluctant to like set that one up because I still got my old one rocking. So it's like, well, till the old one goes out, like that one's gonna stay pristine.
Yeah, sometimes if you got a freshie, at this stage, it's kind of like, I know exactly what you mean. You don't want to take it out of its wrapper. Some people collect figures, don't they, action figures and stuff, and never touch them. I suppose it's a bit like that.
That won't happen with me. It's boards to be are made to be ridden, and yeah, like aside from the blade, which is in sad shape at this point, it looks it's crazy looking. Yeah, that's the Green 16 was like the one after it. You know, and that, other than that, like the Razor is always like a really good old deck. Like it was thin and twisty, like just really good response. It was a crazy, but yeah.
It's probably a good time to ask, and I think I know the answer to this already, but it's a good opportunity to talk about it. What's your current setup? What are you currently riding?
So right now I'm actually riding a collab that I got from Jenna. Been trying to get a hold of it. Little side tangent. The whole reason is you know, one day when Cody was living out here, he was like, you know, what would you like in a board? And I was like, well, I'd really like concave underneath the feet. You know, you don't, you know, because it'd be hard to do like concave on the whole board. But if you just had, I was like, if you just had it cupped under the feet, like, you know, it'd give you that little extra bit of control. And I was like, oh yeah. And so like the collab, you know, he was going around talking to other people, and that was kind of one of the things that like he had put into the board. So it's like I wanted to get that and you know, just so I could ride it, because and then like all the other stuff that he put into it, you know, and all the feedback he got, like that board comes out amazing. It's a little stiff for me, but like definitely and it's just MBS matrix setups. And I got them from Jenna. What is it? I forget his name. Leon.
Oh, they
out
are
there in England. I got the truck mod on that. So because I obviously need it for some of the stuff I do. I've wobbled out.
Went right down.
Yeah, I've wobbled out doing the XL at Valmont, where it's like you're just coming in hot, and like you got to pump really hard and have a ton of speed for those jumps, and like, you know, you're coming in like the old trucks, like I didn't have reds or anything, but they're just the oranges, and I don't like doing that before I hit a big jump. Yeah. You know. So yeah, the collab with the F5s, yeah, the truck mods, but I've been meaning to do a product review, but I'm lazy nowadays. I don't put much into videos, unfortunately.
Oh, I must have got muddled up then. So who out there is riding the Good Roads deck?
Oh, that's me. So that's like
right. I swear you was riding that recently, were you not?
So I switch out between those. The collab's my go-to. He had pressed it for Colorado. I ended up winning it, and he was like, it's made to be ridden. And I was like, you know, he's like, I don't want it just to sit there. And so I made sure to get it all put together and built it up. And yeah, aside from it being short, like pop, everything, like he's got it figured out. Like if he just lengthened it a little bit.
What's it currently? sat at lengthwise?
Couldn't tell you. I don't know the specs, unfortunately. I mean, he could tell you everything. He's probably actually a person you could. He's been around since like the old Canton days, you know. So it was pretty crazy, like see him kind of pop up and you know, and like hear stories. And then Brian Hoffman, and he's actually been around for a long time, and it's I always kind of forget, like he's like, oh yeah, I remember back in like, you know, back the holler days and stuff like that. And it's wait, oh, crap, you were there. Like it's kind of weird that some of the diehards are still there because you just see everybody fall off. But yeah, no, I'm riding. He 3D printed the molds and everything, and yeah, like just right where I'm sitting, like the concave underneath the feet. If he pulls that out just a little bit more, because the stance is a little tight, it reminds me a lot of the old, like, you know, Terra boards or, you know, ground industry stance, where it's just like you're so close together. But the
I mean,
collab, everyone
that collab's got such a wide stance for the length of the board as well. It feels massively wide. I came from a green Comp 16 that I'd retro modded, but obviously that unless you drill into the actual curve where it starts to of the nose or tail, you can't quite get the plates to sit flush. So you need to come in onto the flat of the deck, and it keeps it quite a thin stance on that. Certainly, I found. But then stepping from that onto the collab, it just felt so much wider, so much wider.
it's so funny to when people step on it, they're like, oh, it is a wide stance, and I've always wanted that wider stance too. So yeah, it's pretty funny to, you know, get on the old boards and the old setup. And I thought I'd set it up to where it was the same as the Dylan. And yeah, when MBS releases that new one, I'll be stepping onto that one. But I'm gonna beat the crap out of the Good Roads board. And I did a couple crazy flips on it. There's one that's only on my Facebook, but there's a skate park because it's a good skate park board because it's nice and tight. And there's just this tiny little lip, and I didn't think I was gonna get that much pop out of it, but the board itself, I like ended up hitting it, and like I popped like way big and like landed flat, and I thought I was gonna land on a little roller transition. I was like, all right, okay, well, I'll mess with this.
Nice.
But
So next question, then I suppose we should probably go on there.
yeah,
Comes in from Caleb. And I think I'm not sure whether he's Southern Hemisphere. Let's put it that way. I don't want to offend him if he's Kiwi or Oz. I don't want to say the wrong one. But I'm going with Australia because he says, "Good day, lads." Random question. You have dropped arguably the best filmed skate park lines done on a mountain board. What's the secret? Is the skate park setup any different to your dirt park setup? Yeah, all the way from Caleb in the underworld.
so that being said, I started in skate parks. Like, it is, I always tell people, it is the hardest place to ride a mountain board. It is not designed for it. The transitions are generally set up for skateboards. Like, if there's like a bike kind of setup, like longer, bigger transitions, and then like, you know, endurance wise, like you go and you just you know, you're up. Like nowadays, you know, I'm like, damn, how did I go for so long? It was literally the only difference was, and I just kind of transferred over, it's like if you see in most of my videos, I ride slicks, and everybody gives me so much guff about it, where it's like like, how do you ride dirt with slicks? It's like, well, you know, I take it to the skate park, I can get my speed. Yeah, it all came from pumping. There's an old indoor skate park video, and for the longest time I was the undefeated champion, because I mean, like, it's all I rode so much. But there's an old X Games / Woodward Park, they became Woodward later, and I'd drop in and I could pump through the whole line, and it took me I don't even know how long it took me to figure out, but I could go through that whole skate park, you know, drop, and then it had a couple like roller type things, then come through a hip, and then another like quarter to quarter hip, and then it had a roller and I could pump off that. Then it had a big vert wall, and I pump back that, and then come across the 50-50 across this like kink deck, and then come and it dropped in, and then it had a double like half pipe with spine in the back, and then rollers coming out of it. So I could come through the half pipe, air the spine, come up the little thing, you know, 180 disaster, 50-50 stall in the extension, pump out the rollers, gap out, and then go all the way back through the skate park. And you know, to me that was like, that's common. Everyone else got there. They could barely get through the park, you know, AK, Cody, and everybody was struggling. And I'm just like, boop, doop, 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 doop. Because I spent so much time there. And, you know, so yeah, leg day and slicks.
And high pressure.
Yes, yes. Not with the plastics though. Make sure you have aluminums if you're gonna amp them up. I would never go beyond 60 with the plastics. I watched them explode too many times in my day.
Next one in then. We've got 2 left, and that comes in from Adam David, who we mentioned earlier. Question is, shove it on a skateboard or shove it on a mountain board?
I mean, I can do shove it's on a skate all day. What was it? I don't know if it was a video with Johnny. Someone did a follow. I finally did like a shove it into something, but shove it on a mountain board for sure. But my shins don't like them.
There's been an online game of board going, or skate, whatever you want to call it, been going on in the UK, and they've been throwing down shove-its a couple of weeks back, and I think it spurred a few of them on, especially Adam, to be doing a few different variations and stuff like that now.
So the big spin is the one that I've been trying. Me and Halston had told me about it, and I started trying it, and it is just like, I think you have to do it off of something, which makes it even that much more scary. But you know, you start, you know, like the way you do like the shove it, and then get the board to do a 360, and then you do the 180, and you'll catch it, and it works out on a mountain board, crazy enough. So you know, you guys need to give him guff and be like, we need to see a big spin, dude. Like,
there's your answer, Adam. Devin prefers no compliers on a mountain board and wants to see you, Adam, doing a big spin. There you go. He'll tag you up on that. I'll give him a week. He'll have it nailed, I bet you. Last question in then.
That'd be dope.
Last question in comes from Mapleton Mountain Boards. Now, forgive me, what is his name? I'm assuming he's one of your reasonable crews. Out of your area of the world, is he not?
Benton Jackson.
That's it.
One of America's best free riders, and yeah, I chased him down in Rampart. He's riding no bindings. He's on his board, and him and Jay were doing some crazy stuff. And my buddy Joshua Elder, he's you know, he cut, you know, some of the videos, and I think it might have actually, what was it, for Colorado, but yeah, anyway, that's Benton Jackson. He's been around forever. I've known him since he was like, yeah, a wee burn, and he's grown up just amazing, funny. Like, you won't meet better people than Ben. I can't.
I've wanted, since I've started seeing his like elongated tail decks and stuff. I want one so bad. I've already messaged him like, dude, when the time comes that you ever come to sell any of those, please put me on that list.
Just see if you can't get one of his old decks, just for, because it'll be a part of history. Just because he's just playing around, really. He's just having fun, and like, this is his personality. He's like, I just wanted to see something new and different, and like, with his typical Benton smile, and you're just like, you do you, Benton. Like, You're amazing. Anyway.
Let's give him his airtime here and see what he says here. All right, there we go.
Hi there, Dirt Podcast. Benson Jackson here with Mapleton Mountainboards. Got a question for Devin. Devin, I remember 2002 Iowa National Championships, you just flying off a berm down the mountain backwards and hitting your head. Luckily, you had a moto helmet on at the time. Just wondering how that felt. And second question is, you've probably ridden a mountain board for more hours than any other human on the planet. Ollie Kano might come close, but I worked on you. And just wondering what motivated you in the past to ride so much, and kind of what motivates you right now to kind of keep shredding as you get up there in the years, man. It's awesome to see you crushing it, and also kind of leading a whole new squad down there in Denver. Just stoked for it, and look forward to hearing this. Thanks, guys.
There you go. Well, I could have saved myself a lot of embarrassment there, couldn't I? I could have just let the first 5 seconds of that play and I'd have had my answer there.
Yeah, backstory. Benton is one of the like craziest free riders. I've seen him drop things that like I don't know are possible on a mountain board, and he's been just shredding forever. So when he asked what motivated me back then, I wanted to be the best in the world at mountain boarding. So I spent hours and hours. Like I literally go down to the skate park 3 to 4 hours, 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes more. And it kind of shows nowadays. But and I wanted to be the best mountain boarder in the world. I wanted to overtake, like I said, I wanted to overtake Tom Kirkman, and that was like the motivation. But went through some hard times and kind of like stepped back. I still rode, but ended up stepping back. And then like, what motivates me now is like, I just, all the good times I had, and it's always been beneficial for my mental state to be out riding and pushing myself. Like even if I can't do the things that I did back in the day, and none of that stuff will ever come out, and I'll never get it back. But like I'm riding with my boys, and like, yeah, I get to see, Benton every now and then ride with no bindings and just be like, bro, what are you doing? And it's been a part of my life. And, I feel like if I let that go, like, I feel like the kind of naysayers would win, because I watched all them fall off, and all the people that, I had issues now, like, we're good friends, and and it's been a wild ride. And I was like, it was motivated to be like, I want it to be my life, I wanted to make money off of it, and I did, and that didn't work out. And it's like, now it's my hobby and it's my joy, and I share it with people, and they can be like, you're crazy, and it'd be like, well, check this out.
Yeah. It's definitely, I quite like riding now as an older gentleman. I don't feel any pressure anymore to perform as such. You're just there for fun.
Yeah, and the feeling changes, because it's like, when we get together, I still push myself, and it's like, but when we get together, it's just like, let's just jam out, let's drop some beers and freaking let's go. Like, but he did ask how the getting KO'd. Yeah, I don't remember it hurting. I just remember waking up. I remember the board hitting the top of my helmet, and yeah, he was talking about the Devastator. But yeah, that's leading back into the new day. I was riding with my buddy Cha, Stefan. He's a COVID mountain boarder, but great people, fucking awesome rider. I was at Ruby and I hit a mud patch, and I was hitting the big line, and it was right before the jump, and it just tanked into it. The jump's 5-6 foot wood kicker. I hit it, like cracked my helmet, and like he heard it from up the hill, like, you know, and it was a loud bang, like, and that helmet split, and I flipped over the jump and landed in the gap in between. And then he came down, he's like, you know, you good? I'm just like laughing, you know, like crunched up in the between the kicker and the jump. And he's like, you good? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're not dead? I'm like, no. And he was telling Benton, he's like, yeah, I watched Devin die the other day. And like Benton's like, I've seen him die a few times. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think that is the end of the viewers' questions as such.
The questions.
Yeah.
Look, because I still got to get to the Empire Saga, which
Yeah, I was going to say we need to jump back into your timeline a little bit here, don't we? Bring us up to where we were.
Yeah, and so things weren't going well with like MBS and everything. So we were sitting at the point where we were doing demos and everything, and then these guys came over, and there was Jason Smalls, you know, rest in peace, great guy, great rider. He'd worked with them, and I heard through Devin Fritz, who was one of the first Mongoose riders, and actually has one of the original Highline mount boards, if you remember those from Mongoose.
That was my first board, was a Highline.
No way.
Yeah,
Damn, all right.
I've still got it under there somewhere.
Nice. So yeah, he was like, there's this mountain board shop up in Empire. You're like, go. And so went with my lady at the time, Ari Coates, who she's a fantastic rider. If you get a girl on, you know, maybe she might be a good one, because she'd been through a lot of this stuff with me, you know, these recent years. So anyway, we go up and it's just this little hole in the wall, little mountain board shop. And I talked to Phil Sheeter, and he's like, yeah, dude. And we just kind of hit it up, and I started going up there, and he was like building a little dirt park, and then it got bigger. And then he's like, oh, dude, what should we do? We're going to build some wood jumps. And then it got bigger, and we built some wood jumps. And we built a little quarter pipe. Then we built this big quarter pipe. And then, you know, the shop got bigger, and then they added more room to it. And then like we got to a point where we were having like pizza parties and stuff and little competitions, and he had this little, there was no lip, and I don't know if there's any pictures out there, or be hard to find, but it's literally like a, you know, maybe a 3-foot kicker, and I was backflipping it, and everybody's just like, you're mental, like, dude, what's your problem? And there's our buddy Jason Keena had a little pizzeria, and I was like, yeah, do a backflip and take a bite of pizza. And I was like, yeah. And the landowner was, the landlord was like, keep it low key, you know, you can have your little shop, because it was zoned for residential and commercial, but it's like, hey, you know, don't blow it up. Well, I got in the like local paper, and he's like, this isn't low key, guys, and like, you guys got to get out. And so they had all the jumps and everything, and then they decided, instead of like calling it, they were like, hey, there's a shop down here. So they made the shop even bigger. And like, this is like going out through years at time, like I'm breezing through it, because, you know, we're getting up there. But and so they open up this bigger shop, and then they're like, yeah, we're gonna build a dirt park. And then they get this dirt park down the way, so like, you literally just bomb down from the mountain board shop. And they did sell snowboards at a time, but then they became strictly mountain boards. So they were, I don't know any physical mountain board shop, maybe like ATB shop, but they were an actual mountain board shop, and I was their pro, you know, their pro rider. And so we worked for them, and like, we built the dirt park up from these little dirt mounds, and like, you know, we got wood kickers, they got the town to sponsor it, and we had the Altitude Cup, and I think one of the last good ones, you know, Dylan and Nikki came out, and that was like one of the last actually few big, I need to cut that footage at some point, but you know, everybody'd come out, like Leaf, E-Car, all those, you know, all those shredders. And the thing is like, the jumps were really hard to ride. And there's my favorite, the cheese wedge, where I did some stupid things. There's a video of me actually doing the taipan off that jump, and you know, you look at the footage, it's really hard to like gauge, but it's like actual snowboard jump, where, you know, you have the booter and like landing, but the landing was, do not mess up. It was gnarly, jagged rocks. Like anytime you'd fall on that thing, like it would shred you. And the story goes is that they got a news crew up there one day, and I hadn't flipped it yet. I was scared to flip it. It was at least a 30-foot gap, and and just stepped down to called the runaway truck ramp. And as I was coming into it, like I was hitting it, and they're like, "Okay, we're done." I'm like, "Well, I haven't flipped yet." And they're like, "You're gonna flip?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna flip that jump." And they're like, "All right," and then I get them to stay. And I was trying not to crash for the footage all day, and I was doing such a good job. And sure as shit, like I do the flip and over rotate it because it's such a big gap, and I drug myself down like top to bottom, face, literally even got my toes somehow through my shoes. Like that's how gnarly this like landing was. And like I was shredded, heel, like toe, all the way up. I even got in my unmentionables somehow. And that news anchor lady, like the little morning show lady, she was like looking at me like in just like complete, like, and I had probably blood dripping off my face, and she was like, you good? I'm like, gotta land.
Gotta go back up.
Yeah, I was like, you get it. And they're like, they put it in, and so they knew they were going to use any crash footage, but they're like, mountboarding could be good for better or for worse. So they have me just get and run through the ring or down the landing, and you hear me go. One of the funniest moments of my life. But yeah, they built that place up, and they eventually kind of got burnt out, which was the sad part. But it was a breezing through a 10-year saga of them putting their hard-earned money and work and effort and love into the sport. And it's Dave Kennedy and Phil Sheeter, and like those guys, they kept it alive for me. They gave me a spot. I was sponsored by, as far as I knew, I don't know if there's any other specific just only mountain board shop that's ever existed, but like I was riding them. I was their shop pro. Like MBS wasn't even giving me parts. They gave me pads. They gave me parts, anything that I needed or wanted. Like they were like, we want you riding our gear, and they weren't making any money off it. Yeah. Like it was all for the love, and all the stuff they did in like the town of Empire, Colorado, like was rallied around us. And, it was kind of a good send off to like where it, ended up. There was some hard times and some drama that kind of happened at the end. I got my ear bit.
What time of year? What year do you think that sort of shop era closed?
I think it had to have been around 2013, maybe 2014. I have all my shirts, which is funny because like I have so many stacks of shirts, because believe it or not, like I'm actually one of the top riders. I like literally been top 3. I've beaten everybody, and my favorite win was when I beat Cody. He was so not happy about it. And like I took the video down because of those drama with the guy that like a lot of drama. But he had, we're filming the award ceremony, and Leon's first, and I'm second and third, and Cody looks behind me to Leon, just he was not happy losing out to me. But it was he would have had it.
You can't win them all. You can't win them all.
It was just one of those moments, because like
yeah. So that would have been, so you're almost 10 years away. So have you mentioned that you stopped sort of the regularity of riding. I'm assuming that sort of came in from after there until the last sort of 5 years, I suppose.
So actually the last little bit I've been going as much as I can, back to like 2 or 3 times a week. So it was kind of after the altitude saga, it's like it was kind of an identity gap. And then the US riders got invited out to Serbia, and like I wasn't a part of it, and I was like, because the US embassy was paying for it, and so I was kind of like, what? And then me and Dave, who was, you know, best friend, mentor, we had a huge falling out, and he cut me down hard, and I was like, you know, a lot of things were going on in life that really were dragging me down, and I left everything in Colorado and moved to Portland, where my buddy Alex Janega and my buddy Shanzo were at, and like they'd come out here and ride with me, and like their whole saga is a story in itself. Like the times when they were out at Altitude Cup, you know, they're from Washington. They started this huge bonfire. They weaved this like this kind of like hammock out of sticks, and like everybody was sitting on it. All the mountain boarders were sitting on it, and they'd like, throw it in the fire. They throw it in the fire, and it gets all big. I'm like, guys, you aren't in Washington. You will burn this place to the ground. Like, stop right now. And they're like, oh yeah, we forgot. I'm like, calm down. They introduced themselves, which epic free riding out there. They introduced themselves in Grand Junction, and people were you know, having issues with them because they were just so wild. But anyway, they had I went out there to kind of be with them and did some of their riding, and got to experience the Northwest, which is, you know, in most of my videos, the Portland sagas there. We did a couple little events and stuff, and yeah, I mean, I took a little bit of hiatus, but I was still riding, you know, still riding like skate parks and stuff, but I did more skateboarding then. And then by the time I'd come back, I was like, dude, I got my dirt parks, like, and I lost a lot here, but you know, I wasn't too far from Ruby, and yeah, I just started getting back into the dirt. But it was only a 2-year hiatus.
Everybody seems to have a little one, you know, whether it be for a year or more. Everybody seems to have had a little hiatus, but nobody, certainly the guests that we've had on, they always come back. There's a scritch, an itch that can't be scratched without mountain boarding in their life.
Well, I was still in it pretty good, but like there was a lot of drama going on with like the 2 crews out there, and that story in itself is is something else. That was the time that like I almost got booted out of the sport. Like there was some things, and yeah, like I was told to by Jay, it was like, get gone, and I had to like sort that out.
I don't know whether it's advisable asking the reasoning or not. I want to ask the reasoning, but I don't want to bring up any bad, especially as we will hopefully be having him on here soon.
Well, he you know, Jay's got stories to tell. So it just goes down to the crews were beefing, and after me and Dave's falling out, like they threw me under the bus, and I still don't know what was said. But Jay is not a hard person to rattle. Like, you talk to Jay, he's great person, happy-go-lucky, like, you know, so for him to be rattled, I'd like to know what was said, because for him to be mad at me, like, you know, and and he knows me, like we've many hours, many times, many stories, like, so yeah, there was something said, and I don't know, but and like I said, I've ruined the sport of mountain boarding, you know, 3 or 4 times, going on, as they say.
That's quite an achievement in itself, to be fair, isn't it? To be able to say that.
Yeah,
I mean, some people have MBDs, other people have championships and medals and trophies. But
yeah, I just ruined the sport. Sorry, guys. I apologize. My official apology.
So that, going back to one of my questions at the start, and I've got to bring out when you say about ruining the sport, that the thrasher. Tell us about thrasher. Now we're here.
Okay, so we're getting to the demos and everything, right? And we're going out, and Jay's like, hey, do you want to go out and do X Games? Like, hell yeah, I want to go out the X Games. I was like, we get to bring the demo ramp? No. So we didn't have the 24-foot rolling ramp, but we're just going to do learn to rides. It's like, okay, that's cool. And we did little shows in between, but we just had a little 1 foot kicker to flat. And I've taught probably over 10,000 people to mountain board doing learn to rides, and X Games was just shooting them through, right? And for whatever reason, like I don't remember the photographer or whatever, but they had like these stupid little they're like kind of scooters that you have like two things and your feet go on them, and then you like move
Oh,
the
I think I
handlebars
know the
around.
things that you mean. You wiggle your hips and
Yeah,
go and stuff.
they were behind us, and like I figured, they would be on the chopping block, but we were in front of them, and they took the pictures, and I get a phone call like, dude, you're in Thrasher magazine. And I'm like, what? Yeah, like, oh my god, I've been a skateboarder since I was 13. I've been mountainboarding since I was 16. Like, I'm in Thrasher, and like, I'm like, I wasn't skating like a lot, well, I like wasn't doing anything cool. Like, no, you're on a mountain board. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, so, and then I think somebody had posted on the rocks in the dirt, and like, it's not that flattering though. And like, you read it, it's like MBS is like marketing bullshit, and it's like when your friends get drunk and together and have like a stupid idea, and they call me flapping a freak show. So that's kind of you hear me around. They're like, yeah, no, it's just me flapping a freak show, like rolling down the windows here. But yeah, no, it was still the only mountain boarder I know that's in Thrasher, whether it be good or bad. I got a full page out of it. So
there was a mountain board in Hall of Meat last year. I think I saw somebody eating shit off a ledge. 50-50 or I think it was 50-50 in a like a big hubber, maybe like a 10 set, like it wasn't a handrail from memory, it was like a like a hubber down the side.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It jumped on, got about 2 foot, and it just the trucks just stuck to whatever the surface was, and he carried on going. Mash up, absolute mash up.
Wasn't me, was it? Because I definitely had, it wasn't a down set, but I definitely had one of those where it was like at the skate park, and I hit it and just like I just missed my head.
It wasn't. I don't think wasn't it a skate park?
Oh, okay.
It was a legit street spot. It wasn't anybody. I don't
like a stair set.
I recognised, or potentially anybody that had any business being on a mountain board.
Ooh, oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It might just have been one of those. Oh, I found this down in the garage. Let's try to take this down the skate spot, and somebody tried it. But
it's such a common thing for people to be like, oh, I'm gonna go try this. Like, did you go to a grass hill? No, I took it down a dirt road. Those things are gnarly. Like, yeah, well, you didn't, you don't just jump on a bike and then, go hit Whistler. Like, I don't understand why people don't know where to start at the beginning.
Yeah, you'd think, but
and they're getting to the time, and it's like from altitude, the present day, and like I think that's about it. We started the crew. We ride with after kind of COVID, met Shaw. AJ was a big proponent of like getting people together and kind of started doing his own thing, which I mean, he's killing it.
Props to AJ. He thinks very highly of you, my friend.
He's a good dude, and he shreds. Like I watch him and it's just like, AJ, why, how, but yeah, he's a big proponent of getting the crew established out here, like Bent was saying. And then we got a kid who riding old school, didn't have anyone out there, and he was out from Alabama, and he came out and saw the dirt parks, and we got Cha from COVID. He just saw mountain boarding, saw our videos, and was like, ended up getting into the community. And so, and Austin Messner, like we just have this like kind of tight group, and we send messages, hey, you want to go out boarding? I'm going out boarding this week. It's like we're all can't do it. We see, so it's only like a group of 4 or 5 of us, and trying to get Jenna to move out here. I'm like, come on, we got all the parks. We're always riding, and
hey man, make sure you keep keep filming it, or at least keep Snipes on his FPV. But you guys keep filming as well, because I love them.
Yeah,
It's
dude,
so
but
nice.
the videos of me and everyone have blown up on his channel, and I think Dylan, he's wanted 1 million on Dylan's channel. He finally got 1 million views on one of his follows. Yeah, so we're keep it going, and you know, there's probably footage we're sitting on, but Joshua, he's been really good about like getting it out, because like the Frisco big line, it's like you can't really tell how big those gaps are, but every time they'd walk up, you know, they'd be like, you know, like, damn, those are gnarly, you know. And then I was like, one day I'm like, because I'd done that line like 10 years prior, and they were like, gotta, you know, I was like, I'm gonna do it, and they're like, you are? And I'm like, yeah, no, I've done it before. They weren't as like, you know, because they're like weird, not tables, but like they still, like the big jump has a tombstone landing, and like you tank it on that, you're gonna get run through the ringer on it for sure. And they made the hip really big, and yeah, he got that released, even though I released it and it was like kind of grainy because I don't know how to edit. Like I need pointers. But yeah, and he's good about getting that stuff out, and I got burned out on it, weirdly enough. Like I have a 3 terabyte hard drive, probably I don't know how much footage, like backlog of altitude days and stuff like that. And I, you know, I just, something about it, like a lot of the people kind of, you know, I don't want to cut people out, but you know, I've been done dirty a few times by some of the people. I probably haven't mentioned their names. And yeah, it's like it's kind of like why I was like, you know, I was mountainboarding's like kind of problem. I was mountainboarding's kind of like forgotten one, because you know, people would come in and they'd be like, oh, well, we want this to blow up. And I was like, dude, we got to do this together. Like we can't, you know, can't let egos get in the way, because it wasn't big enough. You know, you're fighting over breadcrumbs. Like let's, you know, let's work towards a common goal. And yeah, it didn't work out that way, unfortunately. So that's where we're at now. You know, just a crew, people who love to ride, and you know, we're not looking to get, you know, famous or do anything crazy. Just want to put it out there that like, hey, we're still doing shit. Like,
Put it out there, personal progression. That's what it's all about.
or regression in my case.
Yeah. Now, normally about this point, we would do Slogs' 10 set, but I haven't thought to ask Amon to do a 10 set.
I've
I haven't
got a 10 set ready.
Shut up, have you? This is,
Yeah.
Devin, this is why Amon gets asked to be guest host on it, because I know that he's got all this shit. He's probably got about another hour and a half's worth of questions that I've not got a big list of questions.
But to be honest, while I've been listening, because I've not really said much because it's super interesting, I've just been listening, but all my questions have slowly been answered like throughout the stuff what he said. So I have got a 10 set, and some of it's already been answered a little bit, but it's only kind of copying what Slogs usually does anyway. But I'm ready to go for that. If you are, have you listened to a podcast? You know what the 10 set is? Basically, it's
I get through it. I have ADHD, so it's hard for me to sit still. So I've been going through it. Yeah.
Well, I'll shoot him out. Yeah. I guess, don't think about him too much. I'll just ask you. And so, starting off, regular or goofy?
Goofy.
Goofy, cool. Same. Freestyle or border cross?
Freestyle, 100%.
The park or free ride?
Park. I'm a park rat.
Nice.
It had to be. I like that. You thought for a moment and thought, no, there's no way I can not be.
Well, because we have a free ride spot where, like, you know, we jumps and kind of stuff where it's like I do love free ride, and I've done a lot of it throughout the years, but I'm a park rat. Anyway.
And what's your favorite park kind of this, I could split this question into two. What's your favorite park, like jumps and stuff you've ever ridden, and then what's your favorite park that you ride now?
So it's Frisco and Erie. Frisco has the gnarliest jumps, drops. Like they have that big plank drop in my footage. AJ shot it. I did back 3 melon off it, and it's just scary as hell because the landing is, again, another runaway truck ramp. And then there's Erie, where it's like big jumps, free ride, and flowy. Like it's like a dream. And then I have Snipes on my, I think it's only on my TikTok, but I have him, might be on my Instagram, but it's like have him following me, and it's just flowy. Just, yeah. So if is going freestyle and free ride, it's Frisco and Erie, and like they're just in the backyard too. So
Yeah, I think I might have seen that. Well, whatever you ride quite a lot. I've seen videos online, and I really want to come ride it with you guys.
Yeah,
it looks amazing.
dude, come out. We'll
one day
the squad will take care of you guys. If anyone wants to come out, we're about that life.
Yeah, that'd be sick. So next question: flip or spin?
Spin.
Okay.
I was so hoping you was going to go flip then.
I thought it was going to be a flip.
I thought it was gonna be. I forget who it was kept saying to me, make sure I ask him to do a backflip. Do a backflip. But we have already had that joke once already. But I can't remember it. It was one. Maybe it was Benton. Maybe.
Yeah, I've done it. Done flip so many times, and I have a rule: anywhere I go, I have to backflip it. Any skate park, any place I've ever been, I've backflipped. But my cab fives will always reign supreme. Like I did them way back in the day, and like there's no feeling better than I haven't done one in ages. I did one off the cheese wedge cab five Taipan, and like that trick just that's probably like my piece of resistance is, so to speak, because there's just such a big gap, and then I'm hitting a switch, and then I got my like full pullback Taipan, full Yeti. It doesn't exist, as Shanzo would say. It's like a Yeti trick, it's like the Yeti never is seen. It's like but I did it, I swear to
God. Front side or back side?
Shit. I say backside. But I go both ways.
Yeah, kind of like have different depending on what kind of jump it is, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, hip or jump. But
yeah. Okay. Well, who is your favorite person to ride with? This could be, well, it doesn't have to be a person, maybe it could be like a crew, or who's your favorite people you ride with regularly?
So definitely we're dubbed we're the Colorado Underground Mountainboarding. The acronym is something that AJ kind of came up with, kind of jokingly. They wanted to do the Mountainboarding Underground, and dude, we are a bit of a crazy group, and it's like it's just the Colorado riders in general, like getting out with them, and we've just been going out so many times and organizing session. Yeah, I'd say it's all of them, because we all bring our different aspects. Like Chaw's crazy funny, Joshua's like well-rounded, a little kooky, and Austin's just he's kind of kept to himself, but like, man, he unleashes on the course, and pushes himself. It's like it's just, then my boys, like, and I mean, and I wouldn't be much without Jenna. We're always talking each other and pushing each other kind of in the background. We have a bit of a history that goes back for sure of some of that Northwest drama, so get her be a part of the crew and everything type deal. But yeah.
Nice. And then who is your favorite person to watch ride, like on videos or wherever they're from, whatever time?
I mean, it was always Kirkman. Kirkman just, I'm not gonna wear any pads. I'm gonna do all this crazy shit over these big ass jumps. Like, me and Shanzo used to have this little thing where we'd be digging the dirt at Empire, and Shanzo put so much work and time and effort. He like camped out there and lived out there essentially, and be like, we need somebody to fix these jumps for us. But like Kirkman would have somebody to fix the dirt boy. Oh, dirt boy, come over here. Fix this lip. It's a little craggly, dirt boy. It's time for my tea, dirt boy. Come over here. We just had this whole little routine, and it's like I'd focused on him so hard. I watch all you guys. Don't get me wrong, but like back in the day, I focused on Kirkman, like style points and everything that he did, and like this shit I still like. I look back and I'm like, crap, he did that, and I didn't get to that point. I didn't get there. Like,
you can watch like any of his parts even today and they still look relevant and fresh.
Yeah,
I swear to God, I would think of a trick that like, oh, I'm gonna try to do this, and then I just watch him do it and be like, like, come on, man. Yeah.
The last question. So, what is your favorite event you've been to? As in, like, mountain board event, not like a demo at another event, but a mountain board competition event.
The Snowmass series that Mitchie put on, and Mitchie PT, those were memories, just gnarly mountain boarding and memories with people, because like we took over like in a little mountain town, and it was just like, in the middle of the night, you'd be pissed drunk, and then you'd see like Leon go by, like as I remember, like, ended up meeting them, like Leon and Dave Sansoni, and I can't remember if Sayer was with them at the time. They just had a big bottle of Jaeger, and they're like, we're doing shots. Like, okay. And then you'd meet up with some other people and like, we're smoking. And like, all right. It was, the town's closed down and we're just all creating mayhem. And it was a lot of fun. But Jaeger was always their drink of choice. And they had this big bottle of Jaeger, and like, let's do shots. And Don Baker, was there, and like I just turned 21, and I was doing shots at the bars. You got to do a suicide shot. So you snort a line of salt, squirt a lime in your eye, take a shot of tequila. I was like, all right, Don, let's go. So yeah.
Well, nicely done there.
Right.
Yeah, looking at the time, I think we're bang on about 2 hours there now. Is there anything that we haven't spoke about that you did want to speak about, or is there any bits that we've overlooked? Because every week, guaranteed 5 minutes after we finish this, I'll be like, oh shit, I wish I'd asked that. And I mean, often it's the case that I'll get that from the guest. They'll go, I didn't mention this or that.
There's so much stuff that's glossed over, like the first time meeting Jay Lee. Yeah. First time meeting Jay Lee, like interactions with Leon, Josh, and like, dude, I got, there could be whole, like, maybe I could even take some time and just do road trip stories and like kind of pull the stuff from my brain, because I went through the overview, but like the stories that happened, like, like the birthday Mountainboarder incident, like, there's
well, maybe you like can maybe you can help me out a bit here then, Devin. Obviously, being British, we haven't lived through those experiences to know the little inside scoops and what to look for, what to go for there. In the future, Amon says season 2 there. In the future, we will still be continuing on doing rider episodes like this, but we do hope we just released last week was the BFC Dream Tease episode, where it's talking about the upcoming event, and we've started doing a few live bits over summer with the champs and the E-bit event and stuff. we will be looking to do some sort of round table events. For example, we might look to focus in on the core tour or focusing on snowmass, and maybe if you would be down for coming back on with, and maybe potentially helping me in finding the right people to talk about the right things, then that would be a perfect way to have you back on and to chat about those as well.
Yeah, I mean, even pulling the old demo teams and stuff like that, like the road trip saga, the stories, stuffing Nikki Gearsay in the back of a U-Haul, and then having the cop getting pulled over by the cops and throwing him under the bus. Like stuff,
we don't know where he's stories. From. I think he's just I think he just climbed over the wall or whatever it was.
Yeah,
an illegal immigrant.
Because the cops like, is anyone back there? And they're like, like, no, like, what do you got back there? Like, ah, crap. And then they're like, just totally like threw him under the bus. We're like, oh, you're glad you're a good sport about it. Yeah, just there's, that's like California. There's so many like road trip stories of the demo ramp almost killed me one time. Like, there's stuff to go on about, and then even getting into like the whole Empire saga, like getting Phil and Dave on, I would really highly suggest talking to them about their experience, because they started in Leadville way before I got to them, and then we're working with Small Dog, and yeah, it's just like there's a lot out there, but yeah, road trip sagas, altitude sagas, like because those guys tried to push the sport beyond, and they were doing it, like, and people were just like, meh, we don't wanna, like like, you have what you wanted and now you're not anyway. So but yeah, things like that, but I'm not too worried. I always, I'll tell people stories for days and I'm pretty sure they're like, shut up, dude. Okay, we're done hearing your adventures.
No, we'll always listen here on that, and the community seems to enjoy these little views into riders around the world's minds, and yeah, I think the key is not overloading us. If we did 5-hour episodes, I think that would be a bit much, but being able to have people come back in and take off, bite off smaller chunks of time periods and focus in on those might be a little bit easier, and we can get multiple people on
it's like
the same thing, jogging each other's memories and stuff.
Yeah, you get like Don, Kevin, get dirt heads in there. I would say if you get Leon, mix him with AK, like, dude, same with Cody and AK, like, get Bomb Squad, like their banter and stuff, and like even their interactions currently, like, just you watch them, just remember that time you'll get some good stories for sure.
Definitely will. Well, look, dude, if it's okay with you, we're going to wrap up this week's episode right here. Thank you so much, Devin, for joining us and being in the spotlight. Amon, thank you for joining us and filling in and stepping up to the plate. Some say maybe even exceeding our real
first hand for everyone else.
That's it, yeah.
Well, I missed that, Dan. I didn't. That's been a bit of the delay all the way through.
Oh, I daren't say it again, because now he's definitely how you were a much better guest than our normal normal host, I should say. He'd be screwing. But yeah, hopefully Slogs will be back with us next time around.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Okay, gotta keep the wife happy. But I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm gonna do what I can to make it out to England, because obviously, so hopefully get to meet you guys and ride with you, because I've been watching everybody for years, and like, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I have to do it, to kind of
same same here to come to the States.
Yeah,
so
man.
we'll definitely cross paths at some point for sure.
That
Well,
Moab,
hey, you guys are in Colorado. I got a spare bedroom. Get your asses over here. I'm 10 minutes from the first dirt park, and then we figure it out from there. You know.
sweet.
Sweet.
Cool. I'll speak to you both all soon, and Devin and I will be in touch about any future episodes and bits like that in the future.
All right, sweet. Yeah,
Cool.
thanks for having me, and be well, guys.
Laters.
Cheers. See you later.
See you later.